I couldn't even afford a suitcase. Like I had my clothes in a garbage bag, and a used car that I was driving, paid $4,000 for it. The insurance was like $3,000. I couldn't even insure it. So I drove down with illegal tags, no registration, no insurance. That's how I came down to Virginia. And now I live in Darnestown, Maryland. I live in $1 million house. I'm financially free. I wake up every day. I do what I love. And now I'm in a position where I could help to inspire and encourage others.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is Amads Osman, who walked away from a 6-figure job to do what he loves, breeding snakes. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life, to wake up energized, excited about the day, to have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want, to be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and create harmony to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. Today's quote is from Albert Einstein. It is entirely possible that behind the perception of our senses, worlds are hidden of which we are unaware. Now, he's talking about science, but we're talking about blind spots today, or maybe things that you just haven't been exposed to, an idea or a way of thinking. Listen in today to our guest as he talks about a life he was totally unaware of growing up, and then how he changed his trajectory. And then ask yourself, where am I blind that I can't see? That's a hard question to answer, and sometimes we have to ask those around us to tell us. The elephant's in the room, but not all of us can see it. Hey, this is another one of our series recorded at GoBundance, live in Park City, Utah. GoBundance is about living the tenets we always talk about here on Richer Soul, and now you get to meet people living this life. They vary in age and success, but each of them has found or is finding their path to their ultimate life. They'll share how they did that and the lessons they learned along the way. I hope they inspire you to find your tribe and take action to create your ultimate life. These bonus episodes will always be releasing on Thursday each week, and they have GB in the episode number, so you know that they're different from our normal weekly episodes. This series is brought to you by the Profit Answer Man podcast, where we help business owners ensure they are always profitable and can afford the life of their dreams. Check it out if you're a business owner. Once again, we have a great immigrant story, and if you listen to Amads' background, you have to think that our past does not dictate our future. And when we can see a path forward to opportunity and we have hope, the world becomes our oyster. That said, we have to change our mindset. And that's exactly what our guest did. It's an inspiring story. Amads Osman graduated from George Mason University with a Bachelor of Science in Biology. Ozzy went on to have a successful career in the biotech industry before retiring in 2017 at the age of 47 to focus on his hobby business, Ozzy Boyd's breeding and selling rare constrictor snakes all around the world. Ozzy now spends his days running his hobby business and investing in real estate. Let's meet Ozzy and hear his story. Welcome to Rich Your Soul, Amads Osman. It's great to have you join us today.
Thank you, Rocky. Thanks for having me.
And I'm excited to learn from you today. Let's start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York in the 80s. I'm 52 now. And I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood, Brownsville. And the 80s, I don't know if anybody remembers the 80s, but it was a pretty bad recession. You had the crack epidemic that hit New York, AIDS epidemic. There was a lot of violence, a lot of crime, and that was the environment that I grew up in. So my childhood was pretty rough. However, from a very young age, I had that entrepreneurial spirit. I used to pack bags at the local supermarket. Whenever we got a snowstorm, all my friends would go play tackle football or have snowball fights. I would grab the shovel and start shoveling walkways and making some money. So I was always a bit of a hustler. I didn't really learn a whole lot about money in school. What I did learn from my parents, my parents were immigrants, Muslim immigrants. So I'm a first generation American. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And my dad, he worked a lot. So I did get my work ethic from my father, from watching my father work hard. And he was savvy, financially savvy. The house we lived in was actually a duplex, and we had the Barnes family that were living upstairs. So he was smart in that regard. And he also bought some properties in Park Slope, like in the 60s. So he paid like $16,000 for one, and I think it was like around $19,000 for another. And those buildings now, they're probably worth, I don't know, $2 million. But yeah, so he was savvy, but he was very, very cautious. He wasn't a risk taker. So that's where I grew up. As a teenager, I got into a lot of trouble. I was in a really, really bad environment, and it wasn't until I was 21 that I left New York. I basically had a GED at that point. Moved to Manassas, Virginia to rent a room for my cousin. I got a job working security, and then I started going to community college, and I worked my way through school. And that's really when my life turned around after I got out of that environment. Went on, got my college education, started working in biotech. And I would say around 2000, I was always interested in animals and snakes, in particular constrictor snakes. So around 2000, I started collecting ball python and boa constrictors as a little hobby. And then it turned into a hobby business. And then in 2017, I was a director, site quality head for third largest pharmaceutical company in the world, Sanofi Pasteur. And in 2017, I finally pulled the trigger and quit my job, and so that I could focus more time on my snake business, which brought me a lot of joy. And it's been great. So no more W-2. After I quit my job, I had time to read and educate myself about real estate, mindset, improve my financial literacy, and bought my first property in November of 2017, approximately 10 months after I quit my W-2. I bought a 6-unit. I was able to do a value add, and 3 years later, I was able to pull all my initial money back out and an extra 30,000. So now I'm still buying properties. I self-manage, and I also invest as a LP in several syndications. and some funds.
Congrats on that success. I want to dig into a couple things. And I grew up outside of New York, so I know Brooklyn. And the Brooklyn of that day is not the Brooklyn of today,
It's
right?
changed a lot.
It's changed dramatically.
Yeah.
It's gone from essentially where you could buy a house for nothing to where that house today is essentially millions of dollars, which is incredible. I used to remember driving on the Belt Parkway, and if you broke down on the Belt Parkway, they'd take your tires.
Yeah.
They'd strip the car right on the side of the road.
By the time you came back, your car would be sitting on cinder blocks.
It'd be sitting on a very different time than it is today. Nobody cares.
It is. You go to Manhattan now and you see people walking around with young kids, 10 o'clock at night. When I grew up, you would not be caught dead walking on the street late at night in Manhattan. You would get mugged. It was pretty commonplace. So, it's changed a lot.
It has. My daughter lived in New York City when she went to college, and we were like, go, have fun. It's safe. Don't worry about it. Enjoy. This entrepreneurial spirit that came out where you'd go out and do the snow while everyone else was having fun. Where did that come from?
I really don't know. It was just, it was like a natural instinct from me. I remember when I was small, my mom always tells this story how I used to charge my grandma and my aunts for kisses. They would ask me for a kiss and I would charge them $0.25. So it started at a very, very young age. And I don't really know where it came from, but I was always a hustler and always trying to earn a buck.
And I'm always trying to figure out, is this something learned or is it just something we're born with, and does it just happen? Or
yeah, I don't know. I think about that a lot too, and I think it's something we're born with. I think it's a personality thing, because I look at my kids and I see, my one daughter, she's all about business, and she collects change. She has like a bottle in her room where she collects all of the silver and the coins she sees laying around. And then my other daughter, she's like, she could care less, you give her money for her birthday or whatever, you'll find $40 just laying under her bed. So I definitely think it's a personality thing. However, as we get older, I think we all realize how important money is. So it's a reality that, can't be denied.
So what caused you to break free and leave Brooklyn and move south?
Well, again, I was just in a very negative environment. I got into trouble when I was young, as a teenager. And then as I got older, I was trying to better myself. I was trying to stay out of trouble, but I was just still surrounded by it. And you don't have to pick a fight with anybody. If you have a friend or somebody you associate with, if they got into some type of beef or whatever, people would target you just based on association. So it was just a very stressful, negative, hard environment. And it was really, really hard to try to better yourself while staying out of trouble. So one weekend, my cousin came to visit. He was in the Air Force, and I guess we were talking, and he kind of sensed we were real close, when we were younger, and he just kind of sensed that I was in a bad place. And he was a single dad raising his 5-year-old son, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come down? I have a 3-bedroom townhouse. You could rent a room for me. You could help me out, and then you could go to school and, get a job, whatever." And right then and there, I answered, yep. Like, I made the decision right there. It just felt right. And I saw it as my opening to get out of that situation and maybe turn my life around. And when I got to Virginia, I was just so grateful and so relieved to be out of that environment. And I remember I went to Northern Virginia Community College. And, I was really, really nervous, about going to school. And I went in the process of signing up, registering, getting financial. It was just so easy as compared to New York. You lived in New York. So, like if you want to go to motor vehicles and get a driver's license, you got to take the entire day off of work. And you're going to be there from like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I get to Manassas, I go to the motor vehicles. I took the day off to go to the motor vehicles because I was programmed, as a New Yorker to, expect it to be a long drawn out process. And like 10 minutes later, I was walking out of the motor vehicles with my license, like in shock. So it was just a great positive change for me. And I just had so much gratitude. And I think that really influenced my work ethic. And I was working full time. I was going to school full time, and I was loving every minute of it. You would never hear me complain. And it was just that gratitude, man. I developed a gratitude mindset, and I was determined to make the most of it.
It's funny. I moved out of Jersey early 90s. And when you leave, you realize what a pressure cooker you were in.
Exactly.
And I would go back and forth because we still had family, and everyone would look at me and be like, well, we can't leave. This is where our job is. I'm like, actually, you can leave. You choose not to leave. You have made yourself stuck into this pressure cooker. You don't realize how much better life could be, and you were able to experience that.
Exactly. So speaking on that topic, when I was growing up in Brooklyn, I remember, at the age of 13, me and my friends, like we had a victim mindset. We were all convinced that we would be dead or in prison by the time we were 18. And that leaves you in a very, very dark place. Like when you're a young person and you really have no hope for the future, and all we knew was, Brownsville, and we were just again, it's almost like self-imprisonment. You don't realize what's possible, so you won't even dream, and you just won't be motivated, or you won't find any inspiration to try to pursue that change.
And a lot of that is mindset, and changing that mindset and changing the way you look at things can kind of change everything.
Exactly.
If you set yourself up for that type of success, which it's not really success, you're going to get what you wish for. And
that's what happened to me. I mean, I was convinced that was my future, and it turned out to be reality. I have friends who were murdered, 16, 17, and I witnessed all of that. And you see it, and it just kind of reinforces that negative mindset, and it's a trap. It's a very dark place. And when you have young people, if you steal their hope, I mean, they're going to turn into monsters, and that's basically what happened with us. So we were like, we're screwed, so we're going to raise as much hell as we can. So so sometimes changing your environment makes all the difference. So I'm a big proponent of just, if you're not happy, you're not satisfied with where you're at in life or where you're going, pack up and leave. Do something drastic. Just pack up and get the hell out. And that was the best thing I ever did.
Sage advice. So we're here today at GoBundance, which is a 180-degree turnaround from that world.
Absolutely.
Why did you get involved?
So after I finished school and I started working and I started my little hobby business, I had a lot of success, and my success just continues. My wealth continues to grow exponentially. I have a completely different mindset. I'm all about financial freedom. I'm all about quitting your W-2. I'm all about living that life of abundance. And anybody that's around me, that's all I want to talk about, and I just, as I've achieved more and more success and more wealth, I just started to feel more and more isolated with my family and friends, etc. So the whole lone wolf, analogy on Go Abundance, that really, really hit home with me. And I was aware of Go Abundance. I listen to Bigger Pockets, podcast and some other podcasts. And I heard guys talking about Go Abundance. But when I went to the website and I started reading, and I was like, that's me. Like, that's exactly where I'm at. And, we all need people. We all need to be around others. We're human beings. So that socializing is important, and it's necessary for our mental health and that well-being. So I knew I needed a new tribe. And that's why I joined Go Abundance back in the spring of 2021. So, being here is really refreshing. I've met a bunch of guys that are just, it feels great because, we're all on the same page. We're all struggling with some of the same issues. And we're all trying to better ourselves, not only financially, but, holistically. And, we're all trying to be better people, trying to be better men. So that's refreshing. And that influence effect, I can feel it. Like, I'm just, I'm inspired. I'm just really, really psyched. I'm super, super psyched about the One Life charity, because I can relate to that. I've when I drove down to Virginia, I couldn't even afford a suitcase. Like, I had my clothes in a garbage bag, and the used car that I was driving, paid $4,000 for it. The insurance was like $3,000. I couldn't even insure it. So I drove down with illegal tags, no registration, no insurance. That's how I came down to Virginia. And now I live in Darnestown, Maryland. I live in $1 million house. I'm financially free. I wake up every day. I do what I love. And now I'm in a position where I could help to inspire and encourage others to also pursue some of the things that I enjoy now.
You said something interesting. You said you're here with a bunch of people and you're all facing the same problems and you're all millionaires. I thought the millionaire problem would no more problems in life.
No, that's not true. I mean, I think success is a blessing and a curse. I think society punishes success, and they vilify people who have wealth. I think a lot of it is unfair, but if you believe in your mind that rich people and wealthy people are evil, you're going to self-sabotage. You will never achieve wealth, because in the back of your mind, you're worried about how your friends are going to receive you, or is your family going to withdraw their love? And I've experienced that. Like, I've experienced exactly that. And pursuing wealth is, for me, financial freedom is not about buying materials. Like, I have money. I can go out and buy, whatever I want. I don't spend my money on stuff like that. For me, financial freedom is about having the free time to spend more time with your kids, having time to go to the gym and exercise and take care of your body so that you're healthy, having a time to cook a meal, a decent meal instead of eating fast food, having peace of mind so that you're not worried about money constantly, being in a position to help your loved ones. I pay my dad died in 2007. I pay my mom's rent. I have her living in a very safe, nice neighborhood. That means a lot to me. To be able to do that is very, very gratifying. And now with the snake thing is very lucrative, and I have a lot of followers. And I do interviews on podcasts, reptile related podcasts, and everybody wants to hear about the business, and, you're crushing it and you're making all this money and you're producing all these, super cool animals and you're shipping them all over the world and all of that. And everybody's interested in that. And during those interviews, I started talking about, financial freedom, and I read the cash flow quadrant, and it just really opened up my eyes. And that's why I quit my W-2 a year later. And I started to talk about those things that I'm passionate about. And I was shocked that a lot of my followers and a lot of my customers started to reach out, and they're saying, hey, we want to hear more content about that. Or they started asking me questions. Hey, how can I take my reptile and make it into a business, my, collection, because I'm making money, And so it's a financial literacy is a topic that a lot of Americans are starving. They know deep down that the life that they're living is not where they should be, and their financial situation is not improving. So people are aware of it, and people want that content. So now I'm using my platform not only to like make money and sell my snakes, but I'm also using it now to educate my customers. And I have guys who have since gone out and purchased some rental property. People who have, helped them form an LLC or a sole proprietor to offset some of the taxes that they're paying on their, hobby business. So for me, that's really rewarding, and that's my way to give back. So I'm focusing a lot of time on that now, in addition to growing my business and growing my wealth and trying to educate my kids and leave a legacy, both a financial legacy, but also an educational legacy for my kids. So,
when you say a lot of these people are struggling with money, what is it that you're hearing from them? Like, what are they looking for?
They're looking for just the entire concept of passive income. I encourage people to do a net worth calculator. And it's funny because I had some guys who have been doing really, really well, got back to me and it was like, dude, I'm a millionaire. I had no clue. And it's like you're playing a sport or you're playing a game and you're not keeping score. And, people work all their lives for money, and they're trading their most precious asset, which is the time you have on earth. You're trading that precious asset for money, and you're not keeping track of, your wealth. I think it's tragic. And I think it's tragic that we're not taught this in school. It should be the number one thing we're taught, but we're taught to be employees and consumers. So for me, for instance, I was making six figures in my biotech job. And before I knew it, my snakes were bringing in $250,000, $300K a year in sales, just me goofing off. And I was making all that money, but I really didn't have anything to show for it. I mean, I had a little 401k, I had my house, but my net worth really wasn't growing. And you can have somebody making really good money and work for 30 or 40 or 50 years and won't have anything to show for it, and will end up struggling in retirement, which I think is tragic. We live in the richest country in the world, and we have all this opportunity, and we just don't have the knowledge, or maybe we don't have the tools to take advantage of it. So I think it's important to educate and spread that knowledge. And we live in a world of abundance, but if you don't have an abundance mindset, you won't experience that abundance.
That is so true. And you do get the power to choose and to change, as you have shown. From where you started is not where you end up.
Exactly.
You have a path forward. You can create the life you choose to live, but you got to go do the work.
Exactly.
And it does take time, but it's all possible should you choose to take that choice.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about this business. What is this snake business you have?
Okay, so I'm a science major. I worked in the biotech industry. I'm a biology major. So I love genetics. And I always loved I had reptiles as a kid. I was just always fascinated, with reptiles, and especially constrictor snakes. So what we do is we basically take naturally occurring genetic mutations. Like, for instance, you'll have an albino, and then you'll have a genetic stripe, And these morphologies, or these morphs as we call them, they're genetically reproducible. So I'll take the albino, I'll breed it to the genetic stripe, and then raise up the babies and then breed the babies back together. And I'll have a 1 in 16 shot of hitting an albino genetic stripe. So that's a designer snake. We took 2 naturally occurring mutations and we created a new look. So the ball python genome, for some reason, is very, very prone to that type of mutation. We have color mutations, pattern mutations. It's pretty amazing. And if you go to my Instagram page or my Facebook page or my website, it's OzzyBoyds, OzzyBoyds.com, or at OzzyBoyds on Instagram. You'll see some of the animals that I produce. I produce animals that are truly beautiful, and I've been doing it for 21 years. So that's basically what I do. I'll take, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have some animals with 8 or 9 genes stacked into one animal, and it just creates this beautiful animal. And that's basically what we do. And it's very lucrative. And when you have something that takes 8 years to make, and it's the only one in the world, you'll have guys willing to pay you a lot of money for it. I kind of compare it to the koi industry. The koi industry, ornamental fish, is like a multi-billion-dollar business, and it's similar to that. And there's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of guys who are just reptile enthusiasts, and now all of a sudden they're making money. So I'm trying to get the message out to those guys. Hey, pay attention to your money, take advantage of this situation, invest, create some passive income, and create some generational wealth that you could leave behind, and donate, participate in some charitable donations, donate some money, etc.
So overnight success after 10 to 15 years of hard work.
Pretty much. I mean, it started out slow, but I've always enjoyed it. And now, like, I could hire somebody to work in my snake room, but I do everything myself because it's like an escape for me. Now what I do is I have my headset, and when I'm in the snake room, I'm usually listening to an audiobook or I'm listening to a podcast. So I've turned my snake room into a classroom. So I'm self-educating, and I've learned a lot, and I'm putting that knowledge to action. And now I'm trying to share some of that knowledge and pass that on to some of the other guys. That's me in a nutshell.
Giving back, which is super, super awesome. So when you were working in the industry, what were you working on?
I worked initially worked on monoclonal antibody manufacturing, and then I went into vaccines. That's basically what I did. I started out in the lab, and then I moved to manufacturing, and then I moved to quality assurance, which is basically regulatory compliance. When I quit my job, I had a director level position. I was site quality head for a site that manufactured smallpox vaccine for the national stockpile. So that's what I was doing. It was a very interesting career. I loved it. It felt good to know that we were actually manufacturing life-saving, vaccines and products. We weren't just making widgets. And being a quality assurance person, my responsibility was safety and making sure that the product we released to the market was safe and effective. It was a good career.
That's awesome. And yeah, the regulatory world is lots of paperwork, right?
Yes.
Lots of rules, regulations.
Lots of paper, lots of rules and regulations. It's very complex. And that's why you need compliance experts helping to keep the company and organization in compliance and making sure that their drug products get approved and get to market.
Is there anything that you wanted to talk about today that we haven't had a chance to?
I think I touched on everything. It's just a pleasure to be here. Hopefully I can inspire other people to do what they love, and take the plunge. If you're in a job and you're not feeling fulfilled or you're not happy anymore, find a way to get out of that situation. Life is short.
Life is short. We don't know when the expiration date is.
Exactly.
And I think the possibilities of leaving are better now than ever. I mean, we're in the midst of the Great Resignation.
Yes.
I, like you, walked away from that industry, and I'm doing so much more than I could have ever done there financially.
Exactly.
And working less.
Yes.
And having fun.
Yes.
And it's incredible.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I resigned, I mean, it was a bit nerve-wracking. And I think I stayed for as long as I did because I enjoyed the earlier part of my career more. As I got higher and higher and I got up to director level, I didn't enjoy it so much. It was just a lot of politics and, bureaucracy and backstabbing. And it was no longer fulfilling. So it was really nerve-wracking. I was making over $200K a year, and to walk away from that, it took some courage. But that self-education helped me. And reading Cash Flow Quadrant, that was it. And I tell you, since I quit, I was worried about the financial side, but my net worth is probably, I think I've 5x'd my net worth since quitting. And I'm in a lot better shape, and I'm a lot happier, and I'm a lot less stressed out. And now I'm in a position to help others. So it can't get better than that.
Congratulations on taking that step, having the courage to walk away, and
thank you.
Doing it on your own. It's possible. And I think that's the biggest thing. Everything is possible if you take the time to figure it out, work on it, and take the next step.
Exactly.
And just keep showing up.
Exactly. Every day.
If people would like to learn more about you, follow your work, what is the best place for them to do that?
Instagram, Facebook, my website. I'm starting to do a blog. It's the Millionaire Snake Breeder series. So again, I'm just trying to put out content for my audience. So you can find me there. Ozzy Boyds, OZZYBOIDS.com.
And we will put that in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
Would you have guessed that Ozzy would have become who he is based on his background? Our past doesn't dictate our future, and that's true for you as well. It's all about our mindset and what we believe we can be. Not only that, success is lonely. You need to find that group that will cheer you on and hold you accountable. There are so many, and you can also build your own. Do what works for you. I think the last lesson, though, is when you see people in the world who you think are going to be able to be great, if someone just showed them an opportunity, well, take that chance. Show them that opportunity, and let's turn these people around. Let's give them hope, and let's show them a way forward. By the way, can you do me a favor? Who do you know who would enjoy this episode? Can you share it with them? Because it would help them grow and inspire them to take action. I would appreciate that. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.